Every single person in this room has something in common. You have all been lied to by the same corporations, as a matter of fact. At this moment, everyone in this room has a blindfold on. I'm going to ask you some hard questions tonight, and I want to ask you to really think about them. Because tonight we are going to introduce ideas that maybe you've never heard of, or possibly even dismissed. I invite you, while pondering these things, to question me, to question what you thought you believed to be true. We are going to get our hands dirty in the controversial conversation of animal ethics, which is more important and pressing than you may think. The biggest question I want us to entertain over the course of my speech is this: is satisfying your taste buds worth it? Worth the life of an animal? Worth your own life? Worth the beauty of this earth? Now, I was not raised vegan. I did not become vegan because I stopped liking the taste of meat, eggs, or dairy. I became vegan because one day I decided to align my words with my actions. How could I say that I was an animal lover while contributing to their suffering? I've been a vegan for 2 years of my life now, but I ate meat, eggs, and dairy for 16 years. So I know all the temptations, struggles, and denying that it took to make that conversion. You may see me up here, thinking that tonight I defend my lifestyle and carry the burden of proof. True. But you are also on the stand tonight, and I am asking each and every one of you, what excuse do you have left to defend yours? There isn't a sense in which everyone in this room stands under the heavy weight of an informed conscience. Let's start with some common ground. Everyone hates animal cruelty. I bet that you love animals. So surely there must be a good explanation as to why we as a society love dogs, eat pigs, and wear cows. Some may label vegans as peacemakers, but tonight I will present information that will disturb your peace, but also give you a way to reconcile the truth with your convictions. Here's my truth. I did not join a cult when I stopped eating meat. I left one. But why aren't other people leaving? I've asked myself this question many times and came up with 5 common reasons as to why people aren't vegan. Culture, cost, convenience, lack of knowledge, and taste. None of these are adequate rationale to justify killing, slavery, exploitation, torture, and injustice. I intend to demonstrate in this thesis that veganism is a healthy, ethical, and sustainable lifestyle that has a rich historical and theological pedigree and is a viable alternative to all other ways of living. And I only have 20 minutes to prove it. So let's jump right into this uncomfortable topic of veganism, which might make you resist and get defensive, but please don't do this. I'm trusting that tonight we are all truth seekers, and if you would let me, I am going to help you take your blindfolds off. The first step to removing my blindfold was understanding what a vegan actually is. The word itself is rooted in Latin, meaning to grow or to flourish, to be strong and lively. The words vigor and vegan share the same root. Veganism is defined by the decision to stop consumption of all animal products. This includes meat, fish, eggs, honey, and dairy. A vegan doesn't purchase leather, silk, or wool. Basically, anything with a face is off limits for us. Some may label vegans as extreme, but is it extreme to not want to cause harm? Is it extreme to not want to inflict pain or kill? From my vantage point, veganism is a choice that does not endorse violence. It is the lifestyle of a consciously kind human that attempts to exclude all forms of animal exploitation and cruelty. Now, when people found out that I stopped eating meat, some seemed to have a real problem with this. I received a lot of passive-aggressive comments, most of which had to do with me becoming weak and frail. And in case you couldn't tell, I don't go to a gym. But my mind isn't weak, and neither is my heart. It isn't weak to show compassion. It takes strength. It isn't frail to follow something when you believe in, when your entire life you have been raised to think differently. It takes courage. One boy even told me, "No one is ever going to want to date you now." Or my personal favorite, "Is the reason why you don't eat pigs because you are one?" It's ironic that when you stop eating meat, people give you the most beef about it. But I'm a strong person, and I have a new perspective. I also have a new voice, which tonight I will use to speak on behalf of those who are voiceless. Veganism is not just some new hipster trend. In fact, it is first mentioned by Greek philosopher and mathematician Pythagoras of Samos around 500 BCE. While no religion requires you to eat meat, some actually advocate against it. Followers of Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism believe that humans should not inflict pain on animals. These great minds of the past have fostered this ethical belief and treatment of animals. People today advocate for life, for equality, and for respect. Does all of that stop when the subject has 4 legs instead of 2? If we follow the biblical narrative, we will learn that while in the garden, Adam and Eve were only eating plant foods. Genesis 1:29, God says to them, "I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed in it. They will be yours for food." Now, interestingly and importantly enough, it is only after the fall, when sin has entered the world, that humans started killing animals for food. Therefore, it's not that eating meat is a sin, it's that eating meat is a result of sin. God has created a brilliant story that begins in brokenness. When sin and death entered the world, the only way that a human could atone for their sins was to place them on an animal and have a priest slaughter it. When Jesus comes, he is the final and perfect sacrifice. We sell Jesus short if we think he only interceded on behalf of us rather than all creation. With Jesus, all creation has the opportunity to become a new creation, and he has extended that invitation to us to initiate that process. Early on, God gives humans dominion over animals, but we have abused it. We are here to be stewards of this earth, not conquerors who subdue things to our wants and our desires. If you're thinking tonight that you could never go vegan, I used to think the same way. Perhaps we can find some biblical precedent in Acts 9, known as the road to Damascus. There, a man underwent a conversion that flipped his entire reality around. It changed his life and saved others. Paul travels down the road of Damascus to persecute and slaughter Christians, but has an encounter with Christ that changes him. This is similar to many people's experiences in going vegan. It's a realization, a sudden awakening occurrence, much like Paul had. My journey in veganism has shown me how similar it is to Christianity, and how my faith has heightened my passion, motivation, and zeal to show the love and mercy God has shown me to all of his creatures. For centuries, humans have been eating meat. Countries around the world identify with their individual flavors and dishes, so there arises the claim that culture and tradition are a driving force as to why many eat animals. The "we have always done things this way" argument is a logical appeal to tradition fallacy. If we were slaves to tradition, Rosa Parks would be sitting on the back of the bus, men would be seen as superior to women, and one's aspirations in life would be limited by the color of your skin. Even the soils of tradition are fertile for positive change. Plant foods are as diverse as the cultures they are grown in. In China, there is an annual Yulin festival where each year 10,000 dogs are slaughtered and served as meals. This is culture. This is tradition. Does this justify or make it right? Now you may be thinking that you don't eat dogs, so this doesn't apply to you. But part of being vegan is that I now see animal lives as equal. What is the difference between the life of our pets and the life of a farm animal, which we have predestined to end? If someone beats a dog, they are thrown in jail. But if someone slaughters a pig, we'll pay them for it. Pigs are 5 times more intelligent than dogs, but their life is not seen as equal. We can no longer excuse cruelty by appealing to culture. Eating a standard American diet of meat and high fats is more likely to cause blockage in your arteries, resulting in a heart attack. So please, keep making those bacon jokes while you still can. The World Cancer Research Fund and the American Institute of Cancer Research stress that the greatest cause of cancer is an unhealthy diet. So while some may use the excuse of cost against veganism, saying that it's too expensive, just remember that when your medical bills come back from your open heart surgery, gastric bypass, and prescription medications. If we want to feel alive, why would we eat something that's dead? Eating healthier is an investment for your own body. Through a number of studies, scientists have found that a vegan's blood is 12% more protective against cancer. With health defects on the rise, we have been given an opportunity to reverse the diseases that I'm sure have affected each of us and our loved ones in this room tonight. It's time for us to start eating like our lives depend on it. Now you might be thinking that it's easier to keep eating the way that you are, that it's more convenient. But being vegan has never been easier than it is today. Everywhere that we go, restaurants are more than accommodating. There has been a 600% increase in people identifying as vegans in the US in the last 3 years. According to a report, only 1% of US consumers claimed to be vegan in 2014. And in 2017, that number rose to 6%. Even though there's an increase, it doesn't mean that we're doing everything that we can. For example, states are now banning plastic straws to save the fish. But people won't stop eating fish to save the fish. People cry when they see dogfights or elephants being killed for their tusks, but continue to purchase those designer leather handbags and products that are tested on animals. However, brands are aware of this increase and are releasing more and more plant-based alternatives. Haagen-Dazs released a dairy-free salted fudge truffle ice cream that is creamy and delicious. Even when our class was in Europe, some of us got food from a place called V-Burger, and one of my classmates, after eating his, looked up at me and said it was the best burger he has ever had. When going vegan, you aren't sacrificing any of the foods and tastes you love and enjoy. You're broadening your perspective, opening your mind, and getting creative. I am vegan because I listen to my heart, not my habits. Now, some may truly not be aware of the horrors that lie behind the walls of dairy farms and slaughterhouses. Everyone knows that those videos exist, but refuse to watch them because we'd rather be blind to reality and enjoy our guilt-free hamburger. If it's not good enough for our eyes, it's not good enough for our stomachs. We are bombarded by advertisements every single day. A standard American diet has been adopted as the norm, which not only has poisoned our bodies, but our minds. Slogans like cage-free and grass-fed are words that marketers have construed to make the consumer feel better about their purchase. We associate free range with our perspective of freedom and feel more comfortable with our purchase. These labels ease our conscience. They do not safeguard the animals. At the end of the day, they will still die a horrific death. You would not wish the fate of a farm animal on your worst enemy. Sex offenders, pedophiles, and murderers do not get treated as badly as we treat some of the most innocent beings on our planet. Bill Haw is the CEO of Kansas's largest feedlot operation. When asked to describe a slaughterhouse, he says, "Well, it's not a pretty thing. I mean, it's a necessary process. It's a highly efficient process, but it is not now, nor never will be a very pretty thing. Animals come here to die, to be eviscerated, to be decapitated, and to be dehydrated. And all of those are violent, bloody, and difficult things to watch. So your first and foremost impressions of at least the initial stages of the packing house are a very violent, very dehumanizing sort of thing." Everything that he says here is true, except that it is necessary. Animals have one chance at life, one existence. Who are we to take that away from them because we like the taste of their dead flesh? A taste that will last for a number of minutes, an inconsequential amount of time. So are your taste buds still worth it? But giving up meat is only half the battle, and this goes hand in hand with why it's so difficult for vegetarians to go fully vegan, namely because dairy is addictive. A casein-derived morphine-like compound called casomorphin is the reason behind our cheese cravings. Casomorphin is in a cow's milk to make the calf stay with its mother, and it has the same effect on us when we use it for dip, layer it on pizza, or drink it from the carton. Dairy protein has opiate molecules in it. When consumed, these fragments attach to the same brain receptors that heroin and other narcotics do. Now, these aren't enough to get you arrested, but just enough to keep us coming back for more. And dairy companies know this. They know that we're addicted. And from it, they rake in $140 million each year from our cravings. The biggest deception that we have grown up to believe is that milk makes our bones stronger. I did more research to find the countries who had the highest dairy intake rates. Those were the United States, Finland, Sweden, and the United Kingdom. I then researched which countries had the highest rates of osteoporosis. The top countries who have the highest rates of brittle bones due to a calcium deficiency are the United States, Finland, Sweden, and the United Kingdom. There is a direct causation at work. To get the money inside of our wallets, dairy commercials will show us gentle farmers and happy cows. They lie because they know what they actually do doesn't sell. In a dairy farm, a cow is exploited for her milk, and the only way to get her to produce milk is if she has had a calf. So to do this, she is strapped to a rape rack, and a human hand will shove bull semen inside of her. Mother cows are hooked to milking machines that leave her udders raw. She is given drugs to produce even more because we see animals as objects that accommodate us. Cows produce milk for the same reasons that humans do, to nourish their young. Humans should not drink cow's milk just as a pig's milk should not be drank by a dog. The reality is we're drinking breast milk from another species with 4 stomachs. This probably explains why 90% of the human population experiences some form of lactose intolerance after eating dairy. The human body has no need to drink cow's milk in order to be healthy. Cows are not food. Their bodies are not ours to eat, their skin is not ours to wear, and their milk is not ours to drink. I used to think that I could never go vegan because I'd miss cheese way too much. I then realized that mother cows probably miss their babies a lot more than humans miss cheese. What's happening to animals right now is worse than your scariest nightmare, because for them, it's a reality. The meat and dairy industries are the ones who have put our blindfolds on, skewing our vision to only see what they want us to. So are our taste buds still worth their life and suffering? Not only does it negatively affect your own body, but it's destroying the planet that we live on. Every second, 1 to 2 acres of rainforested land is cleared for grazing livestock. On the other hand, a vegan diet will save 30 feet of forested land. In order to produce just 1 pound of beef, you need 1,799 gallons of water. On the other hand, a vegan diet will save 1,100 gallons of water. Did you know that we grow more than enough edible crops to feed the entire human population? But the grain and crops that we take from developing countries goes to feed our livestock, not starving, malnourished people. We could end world hunger by simply changing what we eat. Animal agriculture is responsible for 51% of global greenhouse gas emissions. That's more than the entire transport sector combined. This has caused the temperature in our atmospheres to rise and has warmed our waters by 2 degrees. This is why we are seeing the mass coral bleaching epidemic, why we are seeing ecosystems collapse and die. So while efforts of reef-safe sunblock are good, they are not going to turn the tides of this environmental war that we have brought upon ourselves. Every day, up to 137 plant animal, and insect species are lost due to the destruction of these biodiverse regions of our planet. The nature that we are destroying is the God that we are worshiping. The United Nations is pushing for a global meat and dairy-free diet to save the world of the worst impacts of climate change. If the average person on Earth swapped out just 30% of the beef, lamb, and goat meat that they ate in favor of plant-based options, it could achieve half the reductions in greenhouse gas emissions necessary by 2050. You don't even have to go fully vegan in order to make a difference. Try swapping out just one day a week to eating vegan in your house. Parents want to give their kids the absolute best out of life. Let's give them a planet to live on in the future. Now, some of you may be thinking that a vegan diet is nutritionally inadequate. I understand that eating dramatically different than you are is intimidating, and you might be wondering how we can be healthy, let alone survive without eating meat. The American Dietetic Association says that vegan diets are healthful, nutritionally adequate, and may provide health benefit in the treatment and prevention of certain diseases. Well-planned vegan diets are appropriate for all stages of the life cycle, including pregnancy, lactation, childhood, infancy, adolescence, and for athletes. But I wanted to see if what I was actually eating was giving me all the nutrients that I needed, or if I was deficient and needed to supplement my diet in any way after eating 2 years of plant-based. So I took it a step further by literally spilling my blood for this thesis, and I took a blood test, which showed that I was sufficient in calcium, potassium, magnesium, sodium, zinc, B12, and sugar. I have no vitamin deficiencies, and I do not supplement my diet in any way. You do not need to eat meat through any stage of your life in order to be healthy. So why do we do it? Because we are driven by taste, by satisfaction. The problem is that we look at the final product, not the process. Now that every blindfold in this room has been removed, we can no longer excuse animal cruelty by appealing to culture, cost, convenience, lack of knowledge, or taste. People often ask me if it's difficult to be vegan, and I always reply that it is. But it's not that giving up animal products is difficult. Being vegan means that you live among good and caring people who you love, who endorse the very cause that you are fighting against. The hardest part about being vegan is that I can't force people to care. Our earth, body, and animals are suffering. We need to make better choices. I gain nothing from telling you this speech tonight, but the meat and dairy industries gain everything by keeping that blindfold tightly on you. Remember when you get up from your seats tonight, that peace begins at our plates, and that we can lead the new era into compassion. So for the last time tonight, ask yourselves, are your taste buds still worth it? Thank you.